morning, all you beautiful people out there. All three of you that are probably watching this. This is episode 1.2. I am going to try this again and see what we can get done. I am here doing this video blog because I am a 50-year-old rock star who got here through some varied paths, and I just want to share some information with you folks. See if anything resonates with any of you. If not, you can have a good laugh, you can have a good cry, you can do whatever you need to do, but here we go. So here I am, a 50-year-old woman, I have 2 adult children, well, basically adults, as far as children can be. Have a career, and I sing in a band. How did I get here? Trials, tribulations, all kinds of stuff. I've been on a lot of journeys, weight loss, a couple of failed marriages, failed engagement, but I'm not a failure. So I want to share all of that with you folks and have you know that. So you're going to be my commuter companion. I'm going to talk to you like you're sitting in the passenger seat next to me. You get to listen to all the people that honk their horns when I don't get out of their way, or I honk mine and they don't get out of my way. So, let me start with, I had a great childhood. Not much to tell there. Pretty uneventful. Got to high school, and I think that's really where we all kind of formulate where we're going to be as adults from our experiences in high school. So some of you might be able to relate. I guess bullying back then, in the mid-80s, or early 80s to the mid-80s, I graduated in 85. I think bullying happened, but it wasn't like bullying now. Bullying now is like relentless. There's no shutting it off. We'd get bullied at school and go home, and at home we were fine. But now, at home, you're not protected because social media takes over and things like that. So, my problem in high school was I didn't fit into any one crowd. I was a nerd of sorts, but I really didn't fit in with, like, I wasn't the Dungeons and Dragons crowd. No offense to people who play Dungeons and Dragons. It's fantastic. Great way to have friends. Great way to connect. That's awesome. I also didn't fit in with the popular kids. I didn't party, so I didn't fit in with them. I had a part-time job at the mall. I had my high school sweetheart, who I dated probably from sophomore year until just about senior year. Jimmy, he was a great guy. I had a couple of really great friends throughout high school. I'm not going to use anybody's names because, well, I just told you Jimmy's, but just because I haven't spoken to them about having permission to use their names. But, Jimmy had a best friend who ended up dating my best friend, and now they're happily married and have a couple of kids, and it's fantastic to see that high school sweethearts can survive. Got to my senior year, things were a bit off, things were a bit different. My non-conformity to any one group, yet acceptance from all groups, really came to a head in senior year. I was always lonely. I always felt lonely. I always felt like the black sheep. People thought I was this big rebel because I would do odd things with my hair. Now, granted, I went to Catholic high school and you had, you could wear 3 colors, blue, gray, green, and I think it changed one year and it was blue and gray and brown. I don't even remember. But we basically had to wear skirts or pants with a jacket, a sweater, or a vest. Footwear had to be, modest footwear. Really couldn't do anything too outrageous except to your hair. And even then it couldn't be too outrageous. But shaving the side of my head was definitely something that I did, even in high school. So that's kind of followed me throughout my life. We got to senior year and Jimmy and I had broken up. Can't to basement parties with my friends who were really good friends, but I still always felt like an outsider because I wanted to fit in with the popular kids, but I didn't want to do what the popular kids did. But the popular kids always talked to me. So although there was bullying amongst, popular to geeks and nerds, because I really didn't fall into any of that, I never really got bullied. Poked fun of a little bit because of being odd man out, but I really never felt bullied per se. So one of the best things that happened though, and it's a great memory for me, I always felt the ugly duckling, the odd man out. Like I said, I didn't fit into the beautiful people, and I didn't fit into the true geeky crowd. But I did go to my senior prom. They didn't have a date for my senior prom, so I used to go roller skating a lot, and I asked one of the skate guards that hung out there to go to the prom with me, and he didn't even go to my school. And he went to the prom with me, and I bought a prom dress for $80. Found it on my own. Thought it was the most beautiful thing. It was white. It's the 80s. We had hoop skirts. It had pickups with red roses and little red polka dots on it. It was off the shoulder, and it was just beautiful. And me and the skate guard went to the prom. Our prom was held at Mechanics Hall, even though my school was in Fitchburg. So we drove out to Mechanics Hall with two of my friends who were also dating. We drive out to Mechanics Hall, we go, and we had a live band. And I wasn't much into live music back then, but it was my prom, so it was fun. And the band actually got to pick prom king and queen. And it was kind of cool because it wasn't voted on by classmates, it wasn't popularity, it was actually people that the band didn't know anyone. And I actually won second runner-up for prom queen, which my crowd, I think, was stoked for because it was one of the not popular people that got to be on the court. So I enjoyed that a lot. And that's like my crowning glory of my high school years. So I get out of high school, tried one semester of college, and I hated it. And I entered the working world. And again, I couldn't do college. I felt out of place. I was a commuter. I just never fit in, didn't do it. So here I am in the working world. Where do I work? I work at the mall, because that's great, right? Yeah, you get to meet everybody. No, you fold clothes, you bring up customers, and everything else. But I met a guy, and I dated him for a while. And we talked about getting married, and we talked about living together and everything else. And he treated me really well. His family was really awesome to me. Of course, they thought we were too young, and all this other stuff. Oops, there goes my Easy Pass across my dashboard. Let's put that away. So we did all of this stuff. He was like, outside of my high school sweetheart, who you thought was the true love, this guy really was my first true love. But for some reason, it just wasn't spicy enough for me. I don't know what to say about that. I think I felt like I needed a little more adventure and a little more, rebelling. I don't know what it was. But I graduated when I was 17. So at 18, here I am thinking about getting married to this guy. And I did a really mean thing, and I pulled up in his driveway one day and told him I was all done seeing him after a couple of years. And it was heartbreaking for both of us, but I was a little mean. And I apologize for that, for whatever that means, 30 years later. Cheers, coffee. So with that, I dated a couple of guys after that. because I was at the mall and I was popular and people were seeing me, and I got different jobs at different stores, and I weighed 118 pounds soaking wet, and I was all boobs because I needed reduction surgery later in life. And I modeled bathing suits for one of the stores, and I met a boyfriend through that. I mean, crazy stuff like that, all in a matter of months. And I ended up meeting my first husband, and he was all kinds of trouble. And my family didn't particularly care for me seeing him, let alone marrying him. And he and I got married for all the wrong reasons. He was in trouble with the law. He needed to figure out how to prove to the judges that he was calmed down. So we got married, which showed that he wasn't a partier and all this other stuff. Unfortunately, he did end up in trouble, and I ended up alone for the first 6 months of our marriage because he was incarcerated. Most people don't know that about me. I had to, bow my head down and go home and get my job and everything else. But I set up my house, very determined at 19, 20 years old, to get my life settled with my husband for when he came home. And I did. I set up shop. I saved my money. I worked hard. I ended up with, all my dishes and all my plates and furniture and everything else. And when he got to come home to me, he came home to a home. He came home to an apartment. I had everything all set up and everything else, and I thought I could fix him. Yeah, no. So, with that, he came home. The first few months were great. The first year, okay. We moved to a bigger apartment eventually. We actually moved twice in our marriage. The little teeny place I originally set up, a second place, and then a third place when I had our daughter. Problem was this first husband, there was emotional abuse, physical abuse, and he really wasn't marriage material. I put myself through a lot. I wanted to make it work. I wanted to fix him. He needed to be fixed. He needed to be saved. Saved from himself, saved from the world, saved from whatever bad life he was given before. Sob stories about his upbringing, his split parents that hated each other, and his father playing favorites, and whatever his damage was, I couldn't fix it. As hard as I tried, I couldn't fix it. And thus set the pattern of my life. I am the caregiver and the rescuer, and I'm gonna fix you, and I'm gonna make your life okay. Well, I did end up pregnant in that first marriage. I was 20 years old when I got pregnant. I was working a full-time job at the cable company, local cable company, as a customer service rep. No longer at the mall, obviously. And I worked part-time at a Chinese food restaurant that is no longer there, burned down, Dan Chance. It was awesome. But I would work Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights, sometimes Sunday nights till 2 in the morning, and then go to work the next day. Of course, my husband didn't work. Couldn't hold down a job, was too busy running around and cheating and doing whatever he wanted to do. But somebody had to keep the house, and I had to make sure everything was okay for everybody else, so I worked my butt off.